May thy knife chip and shatter. May thy knife chip and shatter. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Dune Part 2 is my favorite movie of the year, and it is taking the world by storm, dominating at the box office. So today, we're ranking the 10 main characters from Dune Part 2. We're not ranking every character, just about the 10 main ones. Let me know your ranking down below in the comment section. Who's your favorite character from Dune Part 2, and are you excited for Dune Part 3, The Messiah? Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and there will definitely be spoilers for Dune Part 2, so if you haven't seen the movie, click away. This is your final warning. Kicking us off at number 10 is Baron Harkin. He is the leader of the Harkonnens, and you just hate this guy. He's a big, nasty, fat worm, and basically teaming up with the Emperor in the first one to take out House Atreides made you hate him, and just how he looks and how he sounds. But then in this movie as well, trying to take back spice control and go against the Emperor. He is constantly making moves, so you can appreciate this guy's ambition and how he's trying to do the right by the Harkonnen people, but nonetheless, he's just a villain, and you hate him. And I hate him. I hate this guy. At number 9 is the Emperor, played by Christopher Walken. The table is broken. The Emperor was someone we heard about throughout the first one, so getting to actually see him, and what better person to pick than Christopher Walken for this movie, because he was a perfect cast for this role. But nonetheless, the Emperor was a dick, and there's no sugarcoating it. The Emperor was just one of those guys where you're like, man, I do not like this guy. I don't like him all that much. And also, the Emperor wasn't in it all that much, but there was a scene towards the end when the Emperor's talking to Paul, and he's like, you should bow at my feet, and Paul's like, your feet! You're looking at your head. That got me going. I hate the Emperor. He's a dick. At number 8 is going to be Beast Rabin, played by Dave Bautista. Now, you think this guy's going to be the muscle, he's going to be the man throughout this movie, but he just gets torn to pieces by his entire family. Both Baron and Fade Rotha just make this guy like, sorry dude, get in your place. You're last on the totem pole. Nonetheless, Dave Bautista plays this role very, very well. Dave Bautista is one of the more underrated actors. But Beast Rabin had this scene towards the end of the movie where he fights with Gurney. I thought this is going to be a really good fight. And Gurney just wipes this dude out. So I was like, dude, all your street cred just dropped. These are the 3 main villains throughout the movie, so obviously they're going to come in the bottom 3. At number 7, I'm going to butcher this name, but it's going to be Princess Irulan. It's Florence Pugh's character. Now, she will probably go up in Dune Part 3, The Messiah, because she didn't have all that much to do throughout this movie. Nonetheless, she is very, very smart. She deals with the Mother Reverend a lot, so she has a lot of respect there, and she is very smart. And she even steps up for her father, the Emperor, when Paul's like, pick your challenger, and she's like, I'll go with you, I'll marry you, it's all good. So, a very noble character, and a character that I feel like is actually good for being on like the bad side. So, a character I think when we see more of her in the third Dune, that I will enjoy her much more. Florence Pugh, smaller role, but nonetheless, she killed it. At number 6 is Gurney Halleck. I loved Gurney in the first movie, and especially when he's training Paul, you have that scene that's just so intense, and how the Harkonnens are brutal. And then with this one, because we never saw Gurney die in the first one, you knew he was coming back, and when he did come back, my entire theater roared with cheers. It was just a really, really cool moment, and when Paul takes out his feet, he's like, I know your footsteps, old man. It was such a good callback to the first Dune, and Gurney is so loyal to House Atreides, and he's so loyal to Paul. He stands by Paul. He's basically Paul's like bodyguard, his right-hand man throughout this movie, and when they join back together, he really just wants revenge, and he believes in it just like Paul does, so he goes with the young pup. And that's something I always liked about Gurney, is how like loyal he is to House Atreides, and just one of those characters who like, it's easy to root for him. I feel like he's gonna die in Dune Part 3, but nonetheless, I hope he lives, because he's awesome. At number 5, Stilgar, played by Javier Bardem, the comedic relief throughout this entire movie. I was very caught off guard with how funny Stilgar was actually going to be, but he is hilarious. My theater was roaring with laughter both times I saw this movie. Stilgar is one of those characters who is not blinded by faith, but so devoted to his faith, and he believes that the Savior, the Chosen One, will come down, and that Lisan al-Gaib happens to be Paul Atreides, and Paul's like, I'm just a normal guy, I'm not the Chosen One, I'm not the Lisan al-Gaib, and he's telling everyone else, he's like, he's too humble to admit it, just as Lisan al-Gaib. It was such a funny moment throughout this entire one, and there came a moment when you thought Stilgar might have to die from Paul, and Paul even stood up for him like he's one of the best of us. So it just made you just love and appreciate Stilgar that much more. He was willing to sacrifice himself, basically, so that Paul can really step into that light of the Chosen One. Not blinded by faith, just so devoted to his faith that he believes everything in the prophecy is going to become true. He's pretty much right. At number 4 is Fade Rotha. Now, I know Fade Rotha is very high on this list, but he was one of my favorite characters in this movie because how scary and badass he was. And that's mostly due to Austin Butler's performance. Austin Butler was perfect in this role. And if they wanted to give a supporting actor nom, I would love to see him get it because he is menacing, he's evil, he has these black teeth, and he's one of these guys, whenever he came on screen, I was just like, what is this guy going to do? He was as psychotic as Princess Irulan called him. But talk about one of the best ways to introduce this guy. It's his birthday, he's getting ready to go fight the last 3 guys at House Atreides, and one of them isn't drugged. They're always rigged fights because he happens to be the chosen one that the Mother Reverends think that he's going to be. They're trying to pick him because he's much more controllable than Paul Atreides. So when you get introduced to him, it's one of the best introductions to a character and a villain ever. Denis Villeneuve created such a masterpiece of a scene when just the shot selection was beautiful, but when it went to black and white and he's fighting all the House Atreides people, he takes off his shield because the last guy's not drugged, who happened to be the doctor from the first movie, and Baron Harkin says to him, "Show me who you are." And it showed him who he was. This dude is badass. And you knew he was going to fight Paul by the end of the movie. I was waiting for it. And I thought Paul might even die by the end of the movie. When they fight and they go, may that knife chip and shatter. And he's like, is like in love with that line. He's like, may that knife chip and shatter. Yeah. And number 3 is Chie, played by Zendaya, the heart of this movie. This prophecy is how they're going to slay us. But she believes in one thing as well, that she's in love with Paul Usul Moadib Atreides. And she's like, you always have me. I will always love you as long as you don't lose who you are. Well, Paul starts to lose who he is a little bit. Starts going to the dark side. But in this movie, nonetheless, Chani's one of those characters who I feel is going to be the main focal point throughout Dune Part 3. She's in love with Paul, and there's a scene when Fade Rotha and Paul Atreides are fighting at the end. Fade Rotha looks at her, he's like, "Any special treatment for the pet?" And you're like, oh, Paul, you better get him. And Paul got him, because that was such a cool little moment when he like looks over at Chie, because that's the love of his life. And like he says all the time, and he says to her throughout this movie, "I'll love you as long as I breathe." Man, it just gives chills. I love Zendaya's performance in this. I thought she absolutely killed it. And Chani's one of those characters that you just love because she's so naive to the world, but she's also so firm on what she believes in that she's just a character you can easily gravitate towards, and I love Chani throughout this movie. At number 2, Jessica. She becomes Mother Reverend of like all. She's one of the most powerful beings. The only thing I thought was a little weird about Dune Part 2, obviously probably from the book, is how she keeps having conversations with her daughter and like in her pregnant belly throughout the entirety of this movie. Nonetheless, Jessica goes on a journey. They make her take over the Mother Reverend that was like 1,000 years old, and she has to drink. She drinks the water of life, and she becomes know-all, see-all, and she starts spreading rumors that Paul is the Lisan al-Gaib. And Jessica's journey throughout this movie was nothing short of just crazy. I mean, this lady went through the ringer, lost her entire family in the first movie, came into this one and became knower and seer of everything and became very, very powerful and started spreading the rumors about the Lisan al-Gaib. With Jessica on Paul's side, that's a pretty dangerous duo. Such a crazy journey throughout this one, but such an interesting journey throughout this one as well. Every time you saw her, then all of a sudden she shows up, she has the tattoos all over her face, and you're like, this is insane! But at number 1, my favorite character from Dune Part 2 is Paul Usul Moadib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis. The journey you went on with Paul throughout this movie was nothing short of extraordinary. He slowly became one of my favorite movie characters of all time, which was something I never thought I'd say, because I have like a Mount Rushmore movie characters, but he might crack that Mount Rushmore, because first off, Timothée Chalamet's performance is flawless. I think he should get nominated for Best Actor. I don't know if he will, but I think he should, because the way you see him become Paul Atreides, how he's just this guy who's like, I don't believe in Lisan al-Gaib, I believe I'm just Paul Atreides, I'm here to become one of you, I want to be equal with you. He learns how to ride the worm, one of the best scenes in the entire movie, one of the best scenes in the cinema history, in my opinion. So you see this guy, but then he kind of has this point where he starts turning to the dark side. He drinks the water of life. Now he kind of has a little lean when he walks. He's much more mean. He's wearing the hood. He's wearing almost like all black. And you're like, dude, this guy went to the dark side. Then when he comes in, he's speaking the Fremen language, and he's yelling at everyone. They're like, I am the Lisan al-Gaib, and starts telling everyone about them. Duke of Arrakis. It was absolutely perfect. And by the end of the movie, when he's like, what should we do with the prisoners? And he says, lead them to paradise. You're like, oh my god, the third Dune is going to be so dark and so scary. I think we're going to see the fall of Paul. But at the end of the day, he's my favorite Dune character. Maybe a cop-out because he's the main character, but someone I just love and I gravitate towards. And I mean, Timothée Chalamet, one of my favorite working actors, played this role to absolute perfection. Paul Usul Moadib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis, my favorite character from Dune Part 2, and he is the Lisan al-Gaib. Let me know your ranking of the 10 main characters from Dune down below in the comment section. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell. What did you think of Dune Part 2? And are you excited for Dune Part 3? Thank you guys so much for watching and for being here. I'll see you guys in the next one.